Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Michael Sisco show. It's going to be a little interesting. My last stream was with the priest. Before that, you saw my 8-hour stream for the election on election night. Oops. I'm boomer teching. I left D Live up, so sorry about that, folks. But I usually have it on my phone, but I had it up. But anyways, so we had the 8-hour stream, and then we had a little break from politics with Father Peter Heers, which was just awesome. But we are really hopping right. Oh, thank you. We are hopping right back into the madness with Dissident Mama, who I don't know how optical she is to bring on my program, but mask off, it doesn't matter anymore. Anyways, would you introduce yourself? Tell everyone about your website, which I can't remember what it's called, but I'm sure you remember. And I'll set up my entropy chats real quick.
Well, I am Dissident Mama, otherwise known as Rebecca. It is dissidentmama.net. I've been blog posting, writing essays, typically deep dives since December 2016. I just started podcasting during the quarantine, as we call it around here. I've done 20 episodes. Only 19 are up now. The 20th will be up in the next couple of days. I write about anything and everything: faith, homeschooling, parenting, the Southern tradition. Everything's usually through the lens of the Southern tradition and orthodoxy. But if you read some of my old stuff, I was a Protestant when I started. So, living and learning, growing, always an adventure, and kind of talking about it as I go and trying to go for, let me turn this off, trying to go for big, kind of stepping back, big picture questions and answers. So, I get wrapped up in the minutia sometimes, but I'm looking for, stepping back and trying to figure things out without getting so wrapped up in everything that's happening all the time, because it's exhausting and it can make you want to jump off of a cliff. So that's kind of where I'm at these days.
Nice. How'd you, if you don't mind me asking, how'd you get into orthodoxy? How long ago was that?
Got chrismated in December 2016. If you read some of my blogs around that time, I was just very disillusioned with Protestantism. It was very political, and anytime I would try to counter the political things, people told me I was a disunifier and causing division. And I would say, well, you're the one bringing this stuff up, all this worldly social justice stuff, and I'm just trying to kind of keep it at bay and figure out what we're talking about. Is this dogma or what? And you can't really get a straight answer with that, at least in the Protestant circles I ran in. And I church shopped like most Protestants do. So I ran in a lot of different Protestant circles, and I was kind of done with Christians, kind of done with church. I still love Jesus, and I was done. Like, my husband and I we were going to start a home church, even though, I didn't even come to Christianity till 2006. So, we didn't want to do that, but we just didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel as far as American Christianity goes. And my husband discovered orthodoxy. I knew it was a thing, but I just thought Greek people did it. I didn't really know it was something accessible to me. And he researched it and sold it to me. Well, really, the church sold it to me. The Holy Spirit sold it to me, because I didn't come to it kicking and screaming, but it's kind of that typical thing with the orthodoxy. The men take it to it quicker. I think that's very stereotypical. My kids took it to it quicker than I did. And then once I realized, wow, I really love history. I'm a budding amateur historian. I realized, wow, it has a lot to do with history. The early church is really important. So it's just such a deep well, and I love it. And the rest is history.
Nice. Yep. Nice. Well, glory to God. But
Yes.
before we start talking about, before we get into the planned interview, many people who have been following, if you've been following my Facebook page, my Twitter, you might have seen me allude to some good news. I have been actually helping some very key people in the, with the Trump legal team. In some instances, I've been in direct contact with the Trump campaign, and in other instances a little indirectly. But basically, I spent my day yesterday working very hard for them, getting them hooking them up, setting them up with some experts that they needed. And apparently, I am the great connector in the dissident right. And all of a sudden, when GOP hacks are nowhere to be found, who do they come to? They come to their real base. And but I will say, for those of you who are confused and black-pilled and maybe a little looking for some hope, I will say that the president has various avenues that he can go that I think have a good chance of working. All he has to do is succeed at proving that there was fraud, and I think that he has a good chance. I think he can do that. We have some pretty smart people that have been working tirelessly for at least half a day now at this point. So got that out of my way. I can't get into too many details because we don't want to tip anybody off as to what we know, because then they can go a little crazy. Anyways, what is your perspective, the Dissident Mama, on all of this chaos? What is happening? What the hell is going on? And how do you without taking into consideration everything I said, how do you see it shaking out?
Well, first of all, I have all the answers in the world. Just kidding. I want to put it out there. I don't. I'm just a gal who's trying to figure it out. And I'll start by saying, again, I look at everything, try to, through the Orthodox lens and through being a parent. So I'm a parent of 3 boys, twins that are 12, and my oldest is 13. And they are straight, white Christian males, homeschooled, gun owners, and they're very opinionated. So I get very disillusioned with, I've been disillusioned with America for quite a while because I see my sons as being in the crosshairs of almost everything. So I look at things through this thing, systemic, right? That's the left's favorite word. To me, Trump doesn't have much systemic power at this point. So I don't know what judges would be helping him, but he would have to have, in my opinion, some kind of judge somewhere that maybe doesn't care about his or her career, that is willing to do the right thing, because I do absolutely think it was very fraudulent and is fraudulent. And, the technocratic, just craziness, the media, dinosaur media, is just basically trying to invent a narrative, as we know, that has nothing to do with facts. And, these people who don't even believe in objective truth are going along with it. And it's just a big fat mess. So I'm pretty black-pilled that I don't, before I talk to you and you're giving me these white pills, I just didn't see much happening, because I feel like every avenue he was taking, judges were saying no, Cucky Crenshaw and Nimrata Haley are, throwing him under the bus. He doesn't have very many friends anymore. Not that he maybe even ever did. So it's just a really crazy time. And I do think it is waking up people who had a lot of trust in the electoral process, just let's get a good guy into office and, just one more election. And I've been off that train for a long time. And I vote. I don't think it's, immoral to vote like the Libertarians do or anything, absolutely. And I think votes can matter sometimes more at the local level, but like federal politics, yeah, it's pretty rough. And honestly, I haven't been following it that much since I've seen what's been happening since election night, all these votes being found and, the crazy counters, hiding behind pizza boxes and taping up windows. And I mean, it's just a clown show. It's just a clown show. So I don't know. I'll be surprised if Trump can pull anything off that moves the let's look into it kind of sphere. But I'm not surprised by what the left is doing, because they're just horrible people who will do anything it takes to push the leftist ball and globalist ball down the court.
Yeah. Well, he has all we really need is for a judge to issue an audit, right? To basically an audit order, and we need it to be a federal judge, and preferably the Supreme. Probably will end up being the Supreme Court, honestly, which I think is good. And that's not even the last avenue of approach. So there's actually three. There's three ways to go. If you watch, I won't go through them all, but I mean, there's the courts. Oh, hey, look, M. Rossi. Hello, two of my favorite ortho podcasters together. Well, thank you. Thank you. The all-star team. We all assemble. But no, there's the courts, there's the electors, the state electors, and then the legislators. And in these key states, they are also Republican, but that's not really saying that much these days, as we know how they are. But, I think the audit would be all we need, to be honest, an audited recount. So, and I think we would win
that. Would be through, who does the audit? I mean, what does that mean? Who supervises that?
It would actually be the Republican Party. It would be it would whatever the Supreme Court says, honestly. But but they're doing a recount in Georgia now, which was initiated by the state of Georgia, and U.S. House rep that's Republican is overseeing that. So so we shall see how that goes. Ray the Musician says the Supreme Court is definitely on our side on this one, but you know what? We might end up, maybe we don't have a chance, but I know one thing is true. If we don't help, if we just give up and let everyone turn on Trump, we really don't have a chance. So this is a good plug right now. I actually have the link to donate to the Trump Legal Defense Fund in the description. $5 goes a long way if a lot of people send $5. And one thing that we can do to help the morale of just everybody, including Trump, so he doesn't give up and we give him a fighting spirit. Saturday, Washington, D.C. We are expecting 7 million people to march on the White House. So if you're male, if you're male, wear a cup, because we know it. I don't want to scare you, but
you don't want to get Charlottesville, right?
No. At least I'm not saying it's not optical to wear like the head protection and stuff, but just wear a cup. Trust me on this one, guys. So even in big crowds, sometimes you just if by accident it happens, and you just gotta be prepared for that. But
now, is it taking place on the National Mall, or where is it?
I don't quite have the details yet, but I have posted the flyer. It's on my Twitter. Nick Fuentes has posted the flyer. He's going to be there. He's coming to town. I think Luke Kindrat's going. We're going to have like a little ortho meetup with myself and Luke. So as soon as we have details that are more specific, like where we're marching from, we'll probably what we'll do is we'll meet up at a metro station and then take the train into the city. So how
are the cops responding to this? Are they going to protect people?
I don't know.
My question.
I don't know. With 7 million.
If I go, I'm wearing a helmet then.
I don't think. I think if we get the numbers that we're expecting, I think we'll be fine either way. Honestly. So Antifa can't match 7 million. So
if it's 7 million, I mean, the whole Charlottesville thing, it depends on if there's police protection. If police are keeping law and order, it's going to be awesome. But I fear.
I will say this.
I just fear that.
I will say this. I went to Unite the Right 2 as a member of the press in D.C. and somehow the police were able to keep separate thousands of Antifa away from these 30 alt-right dudes that showed up for Unite the Right 2. And so I actually do trust the Metro Police despite
That's
any.
Good to know.
Yeah, they're probably the best at what they do, to be honest. So because it's DC. So
I was going to say, I'm talking to you later this week, and I want to find out more details about it because, if police are there helping keep law and order, Maybe I'll go up. I mean, DC's not far from where I live.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just
We
do
need
it.
you. Join the ortho crew. So
Do I have to wear my my Hawaiian shirt to like meet Nick Fuentes? Right? The right wing Hawaiian shirt, remember that?
Are we booging it out? I mean, I could
Right.
wear my Hawaiian shirt. I could go. I'm wearing this just to, just to keep the energy going. We gotta do
All
it.
right.
Even though it's
Yeah.
causing this like little highlight line with my green screen, but that's okay. Whatever.
No, and I'm all for people resisting, but it's one of those things. What do we do? Well, I'm glad you're doing something, because now you can answer the question. This is what we're doing. We have these 3 plans, and we're going to Washington. So
Yeah.
that's a good plan.
Liam says, "Wow, you were at that thing." Actually, Liam, just to clarify, I was there with the press pass. I actually infiltrated the Antifa rally all day before the Unite the Right 2 event. And I got a lot of footage, but we were going to make like a little documentary thing, and then we never ended up using it. So we kind of just wasted our time. But we were in the press pit with like Fox News and CNN and everything. So it was kind of interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was at least cool to see it. Being recognized as a neutral observer and not really being in any sort of position to be, targeted either way. Do you think Trump can win? I actually think he can, based on what I've been dealing with all day yesterday. So, but anyways, if he does not win, there are some implications on us traditional Christians, which is kind of why we have Dissident Mama here today. So if I know that you had mentioned to me that one thing that you like to talk about is cultural Marxism. So I was wondering if
it's so fun. I love it.
Could you, for those who may not know, could you explain what that is to the audience, and how it might be further promoted and even enforced in the Biden administration?
Well, the easy answer would be cultural Marxism is our society. It is how we live. It's how we function, because it is, again, the systemic power behind, everything that, to me, courts, academia, K through 12, churches, the library, the local dog catcher. I mean, it's something I see as cancerous that touches every part of our life, which is why, I think it is such a reason I talk about it so much. But, just generically, it's kind of, born out of the Frankfurt School, these guys that were, in Germany and, left Germany and came to Columbia University, and they were subversive people who wanted to basically tear down anything that represented white male Christianity, Western civilization. So they, I think, would equate those things. It was something that they started implementing into academia, and then from there it spread. So like 25 years ago, people would say, oh, that's just weird Berkeley. Berkeley's just doing this weird thing. And, we all lead our normal lives, but it is now, it's in everything you see. You can see a commercial for a bubble gum, and, it's rainbow colored or whatever. So it's called Marxism because it's not really economic, because these guys figured out that everybody wants to be rich. So they have to, this whole the labor stuff and the producers and the owners and, whatever, that just people didn't care, because most people just wanted to be rich. So like under Soviet communism, they showed The Great Gatsby, that movie, that great book, and it's supposed to anger everybody that there's all these rich people. Well, in Soviet Russia, they saw it and said, well, wow, we want to be that rich too. And how come everybody in America has a car? So it had this weird effect on people, that they weren't really mad that all these people had things and people were supposedly being taken advantage of. They were like, wow, we want to drive nice cars too. So these very smart, very academic subversives at Columbia started saying, well, people don't care about that so much. But if we marry that with race and gender, that's something people can get mad about. We can make people feel like they're always the oppressed. Women, we can tell them there's misogyny everywhere. And if we just, because those are such emotional issues, economics can be emotional too, right? It's human action and all that stuff. But it's a lot of numbers too. And sometimes it's just above people's head. But race and gender, those are things anybody can get behind. And that's what America is now. It is infiltrated into everything, and it's basically just leftism. And when people want to call you a racist for having a different opinion, or you're a straight guy who wants to marry a girl and have kids, and somebody calls you whatever, you're mansplaining. I mean, that's all just cultural Marxism. It's basically the world we live in.
Great musician. How gay is cultural Marxism on a scale from Tom Cruise to Pete Buttigieg? I'm going with Pete Buttigieg. I'm going with that gay. So,
right.
Like that.
That's a great question.
I have a lot of people tell me, when I guess one criticism that they'll make of like identitarians, per se, or anyone who's really doing any sort of white advocacy, they'll say, oh, well, that's just identity politics and we can't play their game. I'm like, well, I understand what you're saying, and maybe it is a construct that they made up, but if they're calling you that, you don't really have an option. If they're identifying you as enemy, white enemy, at that point, how much, like you saying, oh, that's just a social construct, that's an Enlightenment concept or whatever, that's not really going to save you.
Right. Yeah. I forget the interviewer on CNN. He's an Indian American guy, but Jared Taylor was interviewing him. And I mean, he was being interviewed. The CNN guy was interviewing Jared Taylor. That's what was happening. But, Jared Taylor kept just saying, I'm just, advocating for my people, for Western Europeans, typically white people, who believe this thing, Western civilization, America was founded on these principles, XYZ. And the guy kept going, but white is just a construct. I mean, this is the guy who is part of the team that is anti-white, so, again, in a perfect world, would we be sitting around talking about being white and what is white? I mean, I'm a quarter Lebanese. So, I mean, am I even pure enough to be in some white thing? I don't even know. But my point is, I'm seen as white.
1909, Lebanese were granted legal status as legal white men. So, or legal whites. Therefore, they had the right to vote. So the male Lebanese had the right to vote. So the Lebanese, the white card has not been revoked for the Lebanese.
All right. I'll keep it. But then the Lebanese sometimes think they're Semitic too, so I can keep that in my back pocket just in case anybody wants to call me a name.
I'm not an anti-Semite. I love Arabs and Lebanese people. It's great. Take that, Jared Holt. Take that. Why are some Republicans saying Sleepy Joe won and turning their back on Trump? Because they are cowards. That's why
they're losers. Is that even an L? I don't know. Losers.
I mean, it's probably just a power. It's probably just a power play too. They're placing their bets on Trump not winning. And basically trying to position themselves to not be punished, basically. So, it is what it is.
And a lot of them were anti-Trumpers from the beginning. I mean, so Nikki Haley doing this is really no shock. So, I mean, neocons are going to do what neocons do. They're charlatans.
Yeah, M. Rossi, white is a construct, but non-whites of various races are not. Well, it is a construct, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to play that game no matter what we think. So, no matter what is the actual reality, they're going to play the game, and you can't really not play it because you just can't.
Right. And I think being altruistic has gotten nice typically white Christians in trouble, because we as in that identity, that construct, you try to do things, you try to right wrongs, you try to build bridges, and, it just gets you in trouble. So you got to know what the game is. And so calling myself white is not that big of a deal, because that is the game. That is what's happening. And, as a person who's a traditionalist, I see that, traditionally speaking, stereotypically, it was people that kind of sort of looked like me that, created the things that I typically love. Were there exceptions? Yes, yada, yada. But it is just what it is. It's history.
Well, as rightly pointed out here, we're the only ones that's a construct, right? But the other ones, all the other ones are real. All the other ones are real.
They get their community. It's the Black community and the Latino community, and it's like, and then two white people get together and it's a Klan meeting. So, it's insanity.
Yeah, this episode's getting taken down. I just see it. I see it now. See it now.
Am I not allowed to say Klan?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Well, clans, Scottish clans. That's what I'm talking about, with a C, C-L-A-N. That kind of clan.
Ray, so is there a dissident papa? Serious question, though. I guess he prefers to remain private.
There is, but he's the breadwinner. So he has to provide for the family. So he has to be on the down low. Because that's the world we live in.
That's true. That's true. Except for me, I'm like stuck in politics. I can't work outside of politics because they Google me. But it's still, my optics are still good enough that I can still work in politics. So as long as I don't go full kneeling on anybody.
Yeah, and I got doxxed a while back, and whatever it is, what it is. So we're prepared for the day that, the job market says, no more job for you, dissident papa. So, we're as prepared as you can be. We don't want that to have to happen, but that's the breaks.
Yeah. Well, whatever. The only person in the mainstream conservative media that is allowed to advocate for white people is, what's that lady's name? Candace Owens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She actually does quite a bit, which is weird.
Yeah. But, it is. I think she's married to a white man, or was dating a white man or something. So maybe that's why. She's got a white man.
She's a white supremacist, obviously. So what are, obviously, I wanted to talk about some ways that we could kind of insulate ourselves if, let's say, that Biden does win and we get this dystopian cultural Marxist administration and society happening. One way that I think, anyways, that we can kind of mitigate that is with homeschooling, especially with our children. Mm-hmm. And so for many people, this might seem out of reach and difficult, but I was wondering if you could maybe explain how parents or people who want to have kids can go about homeschooling if they want.
Well, A, everybody should have lots of kids.
Yes.
B, homeschool them. My husband and I wanted to homeschool before we even became Christians, because we've always loved history. And this was, early 2000s or whatever. And we're thinking, gosh, the public schools are just horrible. They're teaching this horrible history. And even back then, there were some, nuggets of truth here and there. But it was, again, how they spun things and what they didn't tell you and all this kind of stuff, just the bizarre narrative. And as we know, it's just gotten so much worse. But, we went to a homeschool class at a community college before we had kids, and everybody is in there with these horror stories. My kid's getting bullied, and this teacher tried to do this to my kid, and whatever. And, they came around to us. They were like, why are you here? We're like, well, because we want to homeschool, but we don't have kids yet. And everybody was just shocked that we were there. So anyway, you don't have to go to a class at a community college to know how to homeschool, because anybody who has a child, you homeschool from day one. You're teaching them how to do everything, to speak the English language, to stand up, to not hurt themselves, to use a fork and a spoon, to eventually dress themselves, on down through the years. So everybody is a homeschooler. And when we first started homeschooling and we were really nervous about it, or before we really launched into it, a friend of ours who had homeschooled his 4 kids and they were all classical violinists and stuff. What are the secrets? You're overthinking it, because we all went to brick and mortar schools. Most of us did. We want everything so segmented, and we want answers, and we're Americans, so we need things all categorized in this. And he just said, if you can do better than 0%, you're doing better than government schools. And I said, well, I can do that. I can do better than 0%. And any parent who's even thinking about homeschooling is going to do better than 0%. And there are so many options now, cost-effective options, free options, co-ops coming out of your ears. That's almost the scariest part. There's so many options now that you're like, I'm going to choose the wrong option. But because you're in charge, if you choose something you don't like, you stop doing it and you try something else because you're in charge. But again, we're so much in that government school mentality, and people just get scared to do it. I say just dive in. And, my husband has always been gainfully employed, but, we don't both drive fancy cars. We live in a house that's smaller than we can afford because we want to homeschool our kids, because for us, that's an investment, not because we want them to go to Harvard, but because we want them to be critical thinkers. We want them to know the Lord. We want them to love learning. And I think that that's one thing that government schools squash. I mean, read John Taylor Gatto, man. It kills that spark in children that they have that. They want to learn. That's why they make mud pies in the backyard. That's why they disassemble things. That's why little girls, do the stuff to their Barbies. They want to learn. And all you have to do is nurture that. And honestly, I'm not an unschooler or anything like that. I mean, if people can do that, God bless them. But you can do whatever you want as long as you're doing it out of love. I mean, I know plenty of people who have 6 kids and then they have a baby and they're exhausted and they take a baby year and all they do is read with their kids, and their kids are fine. Their kids do fine on the SATs and whatever they want to do. They do fine. Nobody, lives in a ditch after that. They all do fine, because if you nurture that love of learning from the beginning that is already there, planted in us by God, sometimes you just got to get out the way. And that's my biggest problem. My kids, I do like learning. And sometimes, mama gets a little managerial and I got to back off, especially at the age they're at now. But you just like parenting, you just take it day by day. And I think homeschooling is for everybody. It really, really, really is, especially nowadays when so many people are working from home and there's just opportunities coming out of our ears.
Yeah. What about people? Well, we all know that women entering the workforce kind of screwed up our economy to the point where before it was easy to live on one income, whereas now it's nearly impossible for most people. What would you say for parents who both have to work, who haven't quite achieved that ideal of the trad life with the working husband and the stay-at-home mom? Is it still possible to do this, like maybe with some sort of pod groups or something? I think the word is where you just take one day off in the week and maybe a group of parents will share this responsibility. What do you think of that?
Well, when I right before I had my first child, I decided to leave the workforce. And, that's just something we really liked, having 2 incomes. Really, really, really liked it. It was very comfortable, but that's something that we wanted to do. And I know some moms who work part-time. I know some moms that are the breadwinner and the husband, stays at home. I don't want to step on people's toes because I don't want to pretend I know what their financial situation is. But I will say, generally speaking, this may get me in trouble, but Americans can do with less than what they have often. We have to have the 4,000 square foot house or whatever. Oh, I agree. Repeal 19A. There's, again, people have situations that I don't know about, but stereotypically, I think Americans can do with less and pour into the education of their children and the planting the seeds, nurturing of that lifelong learning. You know, that's just my experience. So many people, oh, I wish I could homeschool. You know, you're so fortunate to do it. I'm like, well, it's hard work and it takes a lot of sacrifice. Lady who lives in a 4,000 square foot house and drives a Lexus. I'm like, drive an old Toyota, you know? You can do it too. You can minimize, go to a 1,400 square foot house. God forbid, you know?
Yeah.
Again, there are people I know that are struggling, especially in COVID times. But pre-COVID times, a lot of the people who told me they just absolutely couldn't do it, could. They just didn't want to.
Yeah, that's true. They just weren't willing to, change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
I did want to answer this question. St. Julius, why are places like Florida voting for Trump and voting for progressive policies like $15 minimum wage? Because that is not an actual progressive policy. This is where I like to explain a little something called national populism to people, because these are socially conservative people that actually want to get paid fair wages for their work. And libertarian and free trade Republicans have been brainwashing you to think that this is a leftist idea when it's really not, because corporate wages corporate profits have skyrocketed while wages have remained stagnant, and American workers are getting replaced by foreign workers. Their wages are being suppressed by that, and with offshoring and H-1B visas. And so, frankly, if we weren't doing that, $15 minimum wage would actually probably be minimum wages would actually probably be higher if we weren't actively replacing Americans. So that's all I have to say. It's not a progressive policy. They're voting for their own best interests. That's why.
I agree with the latter of what you said, that, the replacement of the American worker does pull into it. But don't you think a $15 minimum wage would keep like a 16-year-old out of the job market? Because they're not going to hire a 16-year-old.
Well, I think my main point is that if we weren't, well, first of all, the J1, or I can't remember it, I think J1A visas or whatever, that's what's keeping our kids out of the like summer jobs that used to be our teenagers' jobs, are basically like Eastern, no offense to Eastern Europeans, but they're the ones coming here for these summer jobs that used to be teenagers' jobs. We wouldn't even be having the minimum wage discussion if we didn't have massive immigration, because we would actually have fair wages to begin with. But they've been regressed. So as far as, do I think it is a discussion to have, as far as if the mandated minimum wage that high would be harmful, because it could be, but I'm just saying that the reason why, what they're really voting for, the people who aren't like intellectually diving into this stuff, they're not economists. What they're actually voting for is just fair wages, really. It is J visas that I was thinking of. Thank you. And yes, illegal aliens are indeed keeping our wages low, but so are legal ones, and so is offshoring. H-1B, these are replacing high-skilled workers, and it's also the reason why 50% of our science, math, and engineering grads can't get jobs. So out of college.
Computer science.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, anyways, I got off track because somebody.
Well, remember it used to be like. Remember they used to say, the Democrats would say, or whoever, to the people working in coal, just learn how to code. Just learn how to code. Now you learn how to code and you get replaced by, an H-1B visa, typically from India. So
that's just long
don't
gone.
Learn how to code.
Long gone.
It's done.
Modern American conservatism is a tool for the elites. Libertarianism is gay. So, but yes, they are just libtards from the 18th century is exactly what they are. That's exactly what they are.
Well, a lot of people I know that call themselves still libertarians, that I like, people I know in, my real life or through social media and a few podcasts I listen to, I don't think they really are. Like economically, maybe, okay, the free market, private property, that kind of thing. But as far as culture, they're not at all. They believe, that something beyond stuff matters. Family, faith, community. So even Jeff Dice, president of the Mises Institute, would say, the term libertarian doesn't even have a meaning anymore because it has become so politically divided, and you've always got this infighting with the libertarians and all this kind of stuff. And anytime a libertarian wants to consider, hey, how will this affect my children, or I'm a traditional Catholic, the free market can't always answer these questions, they're called a Nazi or whatever. So it really has become ridiculous. But I think the label for the smart people, they just need to leave it.
Yeah. M. Rosie, bring back the Dixiecrats. I will say that basically the America First movement is essentially like old school blue dog Democrats, like socially conservative, but we still support the working class. So I mean, it's just it's all in just everything's flipped upside down now, and it's insane to. But Vox just posted a video saying that Trump steal the? That's how they're gonna spin it, because Trump is gonna win, and they're gonna say, "Oh, he stole the election," and then that's all we're gonna hear for the next 4 years. It's gonna be.
Well, I get a newsletter for whatever it is, the Daily News from the New York Times, because they were giving it away free during COVID, and I guess I still get the email. And I mean, that is the narrative is such agitprop, like you can't even believe it. He's smashing democracy, and these are the people who say democracy is going to die in darkness without the old gray lady, and and then of course Trump starts talking about democracy, and I'm like, democracy is why we're here, and it sucks. But I mean, literally, they just say things and they want it to become truth, and it's wild. I could not believe what I mean, I could, but it's still shocking because I can't believe how people are just so willing to lie and look you straight into the face and tell you, the sun's not out when it is. It's bizarre.
Yep. But just back to potential Biden stuff. All this stuff that we just talked about with the he already said he's going to basically eliminate the cap on H-1B visas, so there will be no cap. That means, translation, we will replace all of you for cheaper labor. So yeah, get
it's
ready
not just replacing. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Indian people who work in computers, software, all that kind of thing, and they hate guns typically. I mean, they do. It's not just they're taking your job. I mean, they absolutely hate guns. Again, that's a stereotype, but it is overwhelmingly true. So letting them in here will not just have economic consequences, but it will have other ramifications as well.
What do you need an AR-15 for?
Right. Okay. And why do you care about monuments? And what do you care about history and yada, yada, yada? It's just, life without culture is just existing. So yeah, I don't like it.
Yes, IO987. A no cap on H-1B is pretty scary. That is pretty scary. Thank you, David Taylor, for being a new subscriber. By the way, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, I am like 200 subscriptions away from 1,000, and monetization would be great. I'm on like 20 platforms, right? So it's been a little difficult with the YouTube, which is fairly new. So if you're watching on Periscope or Facebook, switch on over to the YouTube, Saints Edward Media. Just do me a solid, hit that like and subscribe. Yeah. So
monetization is the elusive thing, isn't it? You always think it's like gonna get you there, and you're very thankful for the supporters you have, but it's like, man, support the people who are speaking truth.
I mean, I do it. I'll keep doing it no matter whether I make money or not from it. But It is what it is. So we know that
Support
we're not gonna have jobs because the Indians are gonna take them all. We know that the Equality Act might go through, so we're gonna transition all of our 8-year-olds into the opposite gender. We're gonna mutilate their genitals. So we know that's gonna happen. The Muslim ban's gonna be lifted. What do you think might happen to the church in a Biden administration?
Well, first of all, I thought you were supposed to be white pilling me.
Well, this is all not going to happen, but if it does, then what what can we expect with the church?
Okay, the church. Well, I would love to say they're going to be there standing for truth and saying what needs to be said and doing whatever it takes to not push insane godlessness. But I don't know. There's been a lot of capitulation because of Wu Flu. There's been, I can't tell you how many times I read something from, a very smart priest, a monk, whatever, these people who are supposed to, just have this straight line to God and, pray all the time and not care about the world. And, they may start off really great. And then all of a sudden it's just like social justice insanity and, and virtue signaling. And I'm like, why can't American Christians just speak the truth? First of all, people are thirsting for it. They are dying for real authenticity. Young people just are sick of hypocrisy. And, if they really cared about growing their numbers and all that kind of stuff, they would be doing that, because that is really what sells, for lack of a better word. People want that more than anything. And I think these divided churches over COVID mandates and stuff like that, parishes that are just falling apart, and as far as Orthodox goes and different jurisdictional rules, I don't know, but I think there will be a small remnant of churches that do things maybe on the down low. I mean, I'm currently going to a place that's on the down low, and we're doing everything normal. So I think it depends on the state, and it depends on the priests, what depends on the laity holding people accountable. But I don't think it's going to be an at large en masse Christians are standing up against this thing. I think that ship has sailed in America. It's just, that's a meridoxy. Nobody does that anymore.
We're creating a trad state in West Virginia, so we're gonna need you to move. Yeah, we're gonna buy gold and silver. We're gonna use that as currency. So
okay,
get it all together. Gotta move. You gotta move though. So
my kids have been taking Russian lessons for over a year, and we've renewed their passports. And if Russia ever lets us in, we're going to go there and visit for a while. So that's our backup plan.
Yeah, I endorse this
Get
message.
the hell out of here.
Subscribe to Saints Edward, Dissident Mama, Orthodoxy First, and Brother Augustine.
Nice, thank you.
AJ37, we are on BitChute. Every video is backed up on BitChute. But that's kind of how we do things. We build up on the platform, and then we move our viewers over when we go down. So you can find me on BitChute. Mike, I think it's at Michael Sisco. I don't know. I used my name instead of Saints Edwards, but just look me up.
You were easy to find. I found you there the other day. You were really easy to find.
That's good. But I'm also on DLive too. So I think dlive.tv/Michael Sisco. That's the backup live stream. So
now, question: I am all for alternative systems. I'm all for I'm pretty much a secessionist. I'm for people creating these intentional communities and all that kind of thing. But what's gonna be the thing that keeps the wolves at bay? What's going to keep you from getting Waco'd out there in West Virginia?
Well, so here's what it's not just one little town. You have to take over. So I think my political experience, honestly, and running a campaign and seeing how local politics works too, and it's also incredibly easy to take over municipality government, even state level governments. So
Yeah, local.
it's easier than you think it is, and the local government is also pretty powerful. So especially,
Yeah.
so we just and I think if we have enough people in a close enough space, we can build a real community and you're not being subversive. You're just being civically engaged and just a bunch of like-minded people in one state. And
Yeah.
so we're not being subversive. We're just building an infrastructure and a community. And then
Yeah.
if everything does collapse, oh my goodness, look, look what we have here, you know?
Yeah.
So if the
Yeah.
federal government
Yeah, I
collapses
know.
because of this color revolution, all of a sudden we're all in one place and we have the state apparatus working. So the
I mean,
work
it
question,
really is the way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, anytime I interview somebody on my show, that's pretty much what they say. Local and state politics, forget the federal stuff, and do it. You've got to move near like-minded people, but I don't think a lot of people are willing to do it until it gets worse. Well, I think Biden may be the worst. I mean, this is something that will wake up the people who, like I was saying earlier, really believed in the electoral process and, carried their pocket constitutions around and stuff like that. So this could be the fire the fire lit under them. Protestants are doing it out in Moscow, Idaho. They've been doing it for a while and it's pretty successful. You've got the Free State Freaky Deakies up in New Hampshire. They're doing their weird thing up there, walking around without shirts on and whatever they're doing. But why not, trad Orthodox people? Now, would orthodoxy be a requirement?
No, because it's not realistic. The reason it's not is because we make up like 1% of the country.
Yeah.
So we have to ally with traditionalist Catholics and maybe even some Protestants that share our values, So,
but Christianity.
Yes, it has to be no Muslims, no Hindus.
No, I'm saying like a cool atheist. Some atheists are cool. They just haven't gotten there yet.
We might let some cringe pagans in, as long as they're the trad, like some Asatru, I'm cool with them.
Okay.
As long as just have to.
Well, that's the key. I'm glad you said that, because I think that's the central thing that's missing from all of America.
Brother Augustine, thanks for watching, bro. No cool atheists. They are cringe, man. Stop your Masonic ecumenism. It's not ecumenism, bro. It's actually just realistic. It's pragmatic coalition building. That's what we have to do politically. We do not worship with them. We do not unite churches under dishonest pretexts without their full conversion to orthodoxy. That's not at all what we are talking about. He brought up the work question. I don't know if any of you have watched Church of the Eternal Logos, but he talks about homesteading and living off the land and whatnot. And land is super cheap in West Virginia. GDP is not very good, but that's not the measure of quality of life, in my opinion. And they all seem to be pretty well off as far as they're very resourceful. They get their meat in mass, basically, to hold them through the winter. Like they buy their meat in bulk from the slaughterhouse. They live off the land. Most of the groceries in the grocery store are locally farmed groceries, which is why groceries are actually a little more expensive in West Virginia. But everything else is super cheap. So the land is cheap. You can get like 13 acres for like $65,000. It's crazy. So and we would obviously have to build our own little economy system, and we're gonna switch to precious metal. We're gonna break away from the dollar. So that's how we're gonna do it.
All right, keep me posted. That sounds awesome.
Atheists will be allowed to be second-class citizens, provided they do not attempt to harm Christian faith or culture. We're actually gonna tax them. We're gonna double their taxes.
All right.
Yeah. Them and the Ossetru. We're gonna do that to the Ossetru too. But
and when is this
anyway,
taking place? Seriously, when when is this in the works? Sometime in the next 4 years?
oh yeah, I think in about 6 months we can really ramp up our propaganda.
Okay.
So I'm working on it. Just join the book club. Go to saintsedwardmedia.com, hit the book club tab, and check that out. And boom, boom. No further comment. No further comment. The Imperium begins in the mind. You're right. You're right. It is. It always starts as an idea, It's an idea. And people like this, they say West Virginia's landlocked. I know, but it works out for the Taliban. We have mountains. Mountains are very defensible. And then eventually we can annex Southern Virginia and get that route to the ocean and have a navy.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I've thought this.
And I mean, you're tapping into something that, I consider to be a truth, and I think reality bears it out in something I've written about in blog posts recently. But in orthodoxy, it is. What did he say? I didn't see it.
That it's not an organization; it's an idea.
It's an idea. Orthodoxy is growing in the southern United States. West Virginia would be a part of that. It's old Virginia. You're tapping into something that, me as a Southern traditionalist, that is there in the people of the South. Little o orthodoxy. They like order, they like tradition, they have it in their roots. Now you have the Quislings. There's nothing worse than a Southerner that wants to take down Robert E. Lee statues. Traitors hang first, whatever. But I mean, really, the people who don't believe that, and I think it is a majority of Southerners, and they don't even really know why they do, they just do. And then the people who come here, not the Yankee carpetbaggers, but the people who come here and really love something about what the South is, because to me it is something special. And Brian McClanahan would say the South is America. I firmly believe that. Well, you can tap into that, and I think people would be so much closer and be willing to move there. And I think of all the places to pick, that's a darn good one. West Virginia is a really good pick. And then Holy Cross Monastery is near there, and they typically are pretty good. Although I've been in a debate with a monk there, because that's what I do in my spare time, is debate monks, because that's always fruitful. But West Virginia, that's awesome. What are you going to name it? Your community.
Best Virginia.
All right.
But I don't know what we're gonna name it, but we are gonna mint coins with the Saints Edward icon. So
nice.
Huge. So collect all of the all your gold and silver now, because we are gonna make it into coins. We're gonna need. I think the smallest you can get is an ounce right now, but we're gonna have to break that down into smaller units, because an ounce is like of silver, for instance, is like $30. Ounce of gold is like $1,500. So let me just say, I'm a silver guy right now with my current budget. Okay. But I went to a Western
I'll move there. Go ahead.
Sounds like St. Patrick, which is also a wonderful parish, and I like the Western Rite. So I know a lot of people don't, but you know what? Who cares?
Yeah.
And I may end up starting a Western Rite mission in West Virginia when I get there. Primarily because the services that I know how to do as reader services best are Western Rite, because they're super easy. And but
will you do copper and stuff too? I mean, will it just be gold and silver? I mean, will bartering? I mean, what other kind of currency will there be?
I don't know. I should look into that. Right? I mean, I've just been focusing on buying silver for myself, but I think I don't know. That might be more simple if we, instead of breaking down the sizes of the ounces, maybe just do different kind of metals. That might be a good idea.
Yeah. Because that really is, I mean, that's such a key to it. My kids and I are reading Richard Mayberry's classic, Whatever Happened to Penny Candy, right now. And it's, I've listened to a lot of economists over the years, and, you think you understand it, and then you find out like how simple it really is. And, just paper money is just worthless, and getting off the gold standard, created all these problems. So I think if you get that money right, or the currency or whatever you decide it to be, and I'll move there if you make a Dissident Mama penny and get Abraham Lincoln off the penny and get me on it. I'll move there. So make a copper penny with the Dissident Mama logo.
Well, we're gonna need you to move there. That's not. Right. Yeah, there are no other options if you don't.
Well, if Putin doesn't let me in, I'll come to West Virginia.
Oh, come on. We need this in the West. We need this here. So, but it's okay. I've thought about the whole fleeing to Russia thing too, but I think I'd rather stay and fight in my home. My family ties to West Virginia. They go back to the really the 18th century, so 1700s. So. Oh,
that's cool. That's another great aspect of it.
Hearing a weird buzz now. I don't know if it's on my end or yours. Hang on. 1 second. It's definitely on your end, I think. But it's all right. We're almost done anyways. So
I've been rocking it for an hour.
Yeah, could you, I guess, really quickly just give us some final words, final thoughts, and where can people find your content again?
DissidentMama.net. We actually bought .com and haven't had an account. I'll figure it out. But go to DissidentMama.net. You can find all there. My final thoughts are pray. Love the people that you have around you. Build bridges with like-minded people, and that's one of my things. The craziness is to me. It is so easy now to see who are like people and who aren't. Like my parish is good because of that. It's split, and all the people that are still there are wearing masks and not kissing icons and voting for Biden, and all the rest of us left, and we're doing underground church cool things and receiving the Eucharist all from the same chalice and kissing icons. So it's really easy to see, I didn't see that last thing, who your people are and build those bridges and foster those relationships, because I think a lot of the people who haven't been as red pill or whatever as we have been are going to be freaking out if Biden does steal the election. So scoop them up, bring them in, hug on them, and just keep building those relationships. Can they hear it? Is it going crazy on your end?
Now you're starting to sound better, but
oh,
now it's fine. Now it's fine. What in the world was that? It was now you're perfectly clear. It's crazy.
So people didn't hear my last pitch for unity? Dang it.
I think they could hear it. It was just like sounded like you smoked a lot. So that's what
in another life I did.
That's what Ray says anyways. She's using the Bean Gesuri to voice. FBI tapping in. Yeah, that's
maybe I'm using a PAL mic, which is awesome, but this thing I don't use, but maybe something happened, and because this does sound like trash, I don't even use it. Yeah, it's the feds. Yeah, I'm on a list.
Well, hello, feds. We're glad that you're watching. We hope that you enjoy the content and that possibly you will learn something and convert to our way of thinking. We appreciate it.
That's right.
So, Newport, Virginia cigarettes. Very southern. So,
Virginia Slims, darling.
Technically, I'm a southerner too. Being from Maryland, I am south of the Mason-Dixon line.
That's right. That's right. They just couldn't secede because Abraham Lincoln put them all in jail. So
he was a tyrant. He was indeed a tyrant.
He sucked. So get him off the penny and put me on.
Jefferson Davis was definitely the best president in the.
Amen.
Yes. So, anyways, I never prep anybody for this question, but I ask as long as I remember. Book recommendation for the audience can't be the Bible.
Well, I would say economics is what I was just talking about, and I'm telling you, whatever happened to Penny Candy by Richard Mayberry, it's for high schoolers, but I'm telling you, it will unmask the fake false prosperity we have, the way, reading even Mises Institute, blogs all day long, aren't going to do. It's really great because it's your kids can understand it and you can understand it. I just read a book on the Fools for Christ. It was just called The Fools for Christ, and that was an amazing book to learn about these people that act insane for Jesus and walk around in St. Petersburg without shoes on and stuff. And that's an amazing thing. It gives you a perspective. So that would be like a faith book, and then I guess like a history book. I'll Take My Stand by the Southern Agrarians. They foretold all this. We want to talk about, people who are prophetic. That's a great book. It's very intellectual, but you can get it, with a basic IQ, you can get it. And it's fascinating to hear them talk about what they had been through and to foretell, all the unchecked capitalism we're living through and how we're so separated from the land. It's a great book. It's a really good book.
Nice.
So I guess those would be suggestions.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Just before we go, I owe $9.87. Thank you for the $3 super chat. You are very welcome for the information. That's all he said. He said thank you for the information. So I don't know if he's thanking me or you or both of us. But anyways, you're welcome. Thank you. Rated Musician says that I look like Abraham Lincoln's great grandson. I resent that because I was an ugly dude.
He was an ugly dude.
I hope I'm not that ugly. David Taylor, I'm from the Chesapeake Eastern Shore, Maryland. I knew I was in good company. Yeah, outside of the DMV and Central Maryland, Maryland's awesome. It's actually is kind of culturally Southern outside of Central, like the urbanites, the Baltimore and the DC folk.
Yeah, Western Maryland's beautiful. It really is.
So is the Eastern Shore. It's awesome. Mm-hmm. I love the Eastern Shore. And David Taylor, I will be out there soon. I don't remember when, but it's on my calendar. I'm actually doing a trad meet and giving a speech, giving a little talk out there. So we actually have local chapters with the book club. So we're doing
That's cool.
little trad meetups and whatnot. But anyways, thank you. It feels really short because I got used to doing those insanely long streams. So I hope not to do another really long one until New Year's Eve, which the sign up for the Psalter reading is in the description as well. If you want to hop on the stream and read some kathismas leading from 8 p.m. up until like 1 a.m. I think about 5 hours it'll take us to get through the Psalms. But anyways, until next.
All right, if you're talking, Michael, you're frozen. I assume it's probably on my end. So thank you for having me on, Michael. I'm frozen. You're frozen. I'll talk to you soon. All right. I've never done a live stream, so I'm clicking leave studio. Thank you, Michael. I hope I don't screw things up.
Hey guys, no idea what happened there. Hang on. No idea what just happened. My computer just randomly shut off. So that was not the intended end to the stream. But I'm back now. But we are leaving. So I just wanted to thank you. I think Dissident Mama thought it was on her end. But no, my computer just randomly shut off with for no reason. It's plugged in. Whatever. Never happened to me before. Yes, rated musician. The feds are really working hard. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you next time. I don't remember who my next guest is, but I will be back on Thursday night, and always going to be a good show. We know it's going to be good. Actually, I think it's Jim Jatris. I think he's coming this Thursday. So look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks for watching, and until next time, cheers.